Hello guys and welcome to my new video, and today we're going to talk about Kansas and Nebraska, two of the states that are swinging to the left, at least in the recent elections. People are saying that Kansas might go blue in the future as well as Nebraska, but can this be possible? Can this be very red states still? They're still very red states in the future. Can they still swing to the left and probably go Democrat in like 20 or 25 years from now? That's a very important question. For example, Kansas went up from a 20, this is a 21 points advantage for Trump if you round it up. So for round it up, it's only 20 points, but it's 20 to 21 points, 20.5 points if you want to be more precise about that. And now Trump only won by 16. That's a 9-point swing in about 8 years, and Trump did better in almost every state in 2024 in comparison to 2016, even though Kansas was not that case. Also Minnesota, Colorado, but that's another figure. This is a very important place, Kansas. And what is the reason for that swing? The reason, of course, it's Kansas City, Kansas, Johnson County. It's a county where the Kansas City is located, at least a part that is from Kansas, because Kansas City is located majority in Missouri, as you know. But Johnson County went for Trump in 2016 by about 2 points, or almost 3 points. It's 2.6, and now it went up in 2024 for Kamala Harris by about 8 points. 8.4 points, so that is a shift of about 11 points in only 8 years, and this is part of the reason why Kansas is doing much better to the Democratic Party instead of the Republican Party, is especially here around Kansas. Also can check Douglas County, it's Lawrence City, you get a 38 points advantage, and look at this, how it was in 2020 and 2016. It was only that's a 23 if you 33, I'm sorry, if you put it. So that's a not an overperformance. And also in Topeka, Shawnee County, look at this, is that hit between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. It was a win for Donald Trump, also very competitive, but this is part of the reason why Kansas is getting more Democratic. The suburbs of Kansas City are turning more Democratic in the last 2 years, and probably President Trump is not the most impressive figure with suburban voters. That's why many of those are flipping to the Democratic Party. You saw that in the suburbs of Philadelphia, not Philly itself, but the suburbs. I mean, Chester County, Delaware County, Montgomery County, Bucks County. Those were shifting to the left, at least until 2020. Trump managed to get those a little bit to the right in 2024, but not to the levels of 2012. And that is part of the reason. Trump is not a very great figure, at least with suburban voters. That's just a particular thing of him. It's different candidates have different positions in very different subjects, and also they have a different base. And Trump's base is, of course, rural voters, and he's also doing better in the urban voters, although it's still a huge win for the Democratic Party. But that's not a point of view. You go, for example, to Philadelphia. You go, for example, to another cities like we would say New York, and those are turning to the right more than the suburban voters, because the suburban voters, you saw that in Loudoun County, in Virginia. You also saw that around Georgia, in Cobb County, Gwinnett County. In 2012, the Republican candidate won those two counties, Cobb and Gwinnett, and then Hillary Clinton flipped those in 2016, and also in continue increasing margins as well in 2024. You mentioned like Douglas County in Georgia, and also Rockdale County in Georgia. Those went more for Harris than went for Biden, although Harris did worse statewide, in part because of the rural parts and also the urban parts out Fulton and DeKalb County, and also Clayton County at a certain degree. So Kansas is a very particularly interesting thing called Manhattan, Kansas, really county. For example, this is a 2 points win for Kamala Harris, and Donald Trump won this by about 4 points. So this is another one. It's not a big county anyways, but it's still the point that the cities in Kansas are turning more Democratic. They're getting bigger. Also, they're accounting for a bigger share of the vote as years are going. And you go to the very Republican counties like Cheyenne County here, it's 83%, and Donald Trump got 83%. So it's still staying. So the rural parts of Kansas are staying that Republican by the same margins. But when you go, for example, Dodge City, this is a win for Trump by about 39 points. And you go here, it was a win for Trump by about 40 points. It's 39. So 39, here's 39. So nothing to be worried, at least in Dodge City. But this is not a very big county anyways. You go here, you do have a big county. I'm not so sure where it is. It's right here, Butler County. Trump won by 41 points, and here it was a win by bigger than that, 46. So it's actually doing worse here. It's Wichita also here, Sedgwick County. Trump won by 14, and here he won by about 18. So that's another point. The shifting in urban areas or the cities are growing. They're becoming more diverse. A lot of black voters, young voters, they tend to be more democratic, they tend to be more diverse, and they tend to vote democratic. But that's just a very simple reason. That's why Kansas, I don't believe it is going to be in short term or medium term. It's going to be in the very long terms, about 20, 25, 30 years from now. Probably Kansas will be a blue state, or at least a swing state. They do have a Democratic governor, Laura Kelly. I think it's Laura Kelly, her name. I'm not so sure. I'm sorry if I'm missaying her name, but I do think it's her name, the governor of Kansas. And she's a Democrat, but she's a very moderate Democrat. She's not the kind of like AOC or Sanders. Sanders is not a Democrat, but you understand what I mean. And they also have a very competitive. They also had a very competitive senatorial race in 2014. I think with an independent there, almost winning with the support of Democrats and that stuff. But this is just about Kansas. Now we're going to move to Nebraska. It's almost the same. I put a video about those two together because it's mostly the same. They have a lot of very interesting things, especially around the Omaha area. So Trump won Nebraska in 2016 by about 25 points. And it was at 25 points. And now he won Nebraska by about 21 points, or 20 points if you rounded up both candidates. So 20 points to 25 points. It's a 5-point shift in about 8 years, as I mentioned. It's a little bit better than Kansas for the Republicans yet, but we'll see. So you can see in the Omaha area, this was a very competitive area in the last years, especially with 2012, 2008, 2004, 2000. So this was a Republican area, because when you go outside of the city, because this is not the city of Omaha, you go just outside of it. This is where Warren Buffett is from, which I'm a personally fan of him. And you go through Omaha, and then you have the city. The city is growing. You have more young voters, you have more Democrats, but also this was a very competitive county. Also in 2016, Trump lost by only 2.3 points. Now he lost by 11 points. 10.2 points. So 10 points to 2 points. It's an 8-point shift. This is part of the reason. So Kamala got a 28,000 votes spread that time. Now this was a 5,000 spread. So you go to, for example, to 2020. I just want to check margins. So this was 11. Now it's 10. So Kamala did not lose too much ground in Douglas County, even though she lost a lot of ground in the whole country. And then you go to Lincoln, for Lancaster County. This was by 0.2 points. Then Biden won it by 8. That's 8 points. And now Kamala won by 5. So 5. And that was at heat, at least in 2016. So this is another very important part, and that why Nebraska is shifting a lot to the left. I don't mean a lot. 5 points is not a huge difference, but it's in 8 years. So if you go accordingly, this basically means in 20 years, Nebraska is going to be. In 20 years, no. In 24 years, Nebraska is going to be Democrat. I'm not so sure about that, but I do think this can be competitive. Especially, we got last year a very should be competitive senatorial race between Ned Fisher and also Dan Osborne. I think it's Dan Osborne, an independent. He got a lot of support from Democrats. Also, he was I think he lost by 6 points or 8 points, something like that. He was more competitive than Harris, of course, much more competitive than Harris. That's why it was a key race, at least according to CNN. And the part of the reason why these states are very hard to flip is because they have a lot of the heartland. This is the heartland of America. It's where they have a lot of rural voters. They tend to vote Trump, and Trump in quite big numbers. It just like one, for example, 85%, 74, 71, 79, 88. So you have 80s, high 80s, even 90. I think we have a 90% county here. And this shows to us that it's very hard to flip this county. You need to grow Omaha. You need to go to the suburbs of Omaha. You go, for example, to Sarpy County. This is a suburb just to the south. This was a win for Trump by 11 points. Why it was here? It was 22 points. So 22, it was 12 or 11. Now it's 11 again. So it was 11, and then 22. So this was an 11-point shift in about 8 years. Of course, Harris did not do too well in terms of the national vote. That's why she didn't do too much well, especially in Nebraska. She could have done better than Biden. Biden lost Nebraska by 20. That's 19, and now this was a 21. So 20, I'm sorry. So this was basically almost zero shift in Nebraska itself because of all the dynamics I was mentioning. You mentioned this county, for example, this one here, Thurston County. So this was a win by Trump by 6 points. Anyone here to win only by 2 points, and now this was a win by about 7 points. So this was even better than 2016, but it's also a very small county. It's also about 2,000 votes, a little bit more than 2,000 votes. So the point I'm making about Nebraska and Kansas is this is very hard to flip, at least in the short term, but I do think the dynamic is here for the long term for this to become at least more competitive. I mean, a 10-point state also, and a little bit more competitive. Kansas 16-point state. I do think these 4 counties here, also Manhattan, Kansas. It's a very fantastic military base out there. Also fantastic, as I was saying. And also after these 4 counties are growing. They're growing faster than all the state. The whole state is losing population apart from those 4 counties, because those 4 counties are where the population is. They're very close to Missouri, to Kansas City, Missouri, as you can see here. And Kansas City, Missouri is also very overwhelmingly placed for the Democrats. But what's most important about this is a very important state. It's only 6 electoral votes. I would say only 6 electoral votes. But this is a state that's at least shifting to the left from 2016 to now, and it could continue shifting to the left because of very different reasons I was mentioning. They continue and will continue to be a suburban rejection of President Trump's policies. President Trump is not the very best character for the suburbs. He could be by the rural parts, the metro parts, but not by the suburban parts. Because when you compare 2016 and 2018, you see a lot of the suburban rejection of President Donald Trump. There's nothing to say bad about him, but this is just a point where he needs at least to get it better. He needs to do better along the suburban voters. Also, in terms of the 2026 midterms election, because Kansas will select a new governor. I think, and I'm not so sure, but I do think the gubernatorial race in Kansas will be very interesting because the Democratic governor cannot run again. I'm not so sure about this, I'm just saying. And I also think this could be a very interesting spot. Can Republicans pick it up? Because I think Laura Kelly, is doing a fantastic job out there. At least the polls are showing that. So we'll see. We'll see about Kansas next year. So probably can elect a new Democratic governor. That will be very positive for the Democrats itself, and we'll see if that can continue the shift of Kansas for the next years. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe and leave your like, and we'll see you in the next. Thank you.